Chapter 1. The Second Line. Emily Tran stood in the tiny bathroom of her rented studio apartment in San Jose, gripping the plastic stick like it was a grenade about to go off. Her hands trembled as she stared at the window of the pregnancy test. One line was fading into view. Then, slowly, painfully, another appeared. A second pink line. Positive. The world around her spun for a moment. She closed her eyes, willing it away. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe the test was faulty. She opened her eyes again. Nope. Still there. A tear escaped before she could stop it. Then another. And another. Soon she was sinking to the cold tile floor, knees tucked to her chest. The test still clutched in her hand like a sentence she couldn't appeal. 24. No boyfriend. No support. No plan. Daniel. She thought of him, the way he used to sing in the car. His crooked smile, his promises whispered late at night. I'd never leave you, Emily. Not ever. Lies. All of them. He had left the second things got serious. The second she told him she might be pregnant. First, he said he needed time. Then he stopped answering her texts. Then she saw his Instagram story. Margaritas in Tulum with a blonde girl who wasn't her. Her phone buzzed. A message from her mother. Dinner tonight. Your dad wants to talk to you. Don't be late. Emily swallowed hard. She hadn't told them yet. She didn't even know how. Her parents were conservative, traditional, Vietnamese-American first-generation immigrants who prided themselves on appearances, sacrifice, and discipline. She was their youngest daughter, the baby, the one who wasn't supposed to mess up. She had already disappointed them once when she didn't get into medical school like her older sister, Olivia. She'd chosen dental assisting instead, which her father had called settling. Now this? How do you tell the people who gave up everything for you that you've just thrown it all away? That evening, Emily sat stiffly at the dinner table, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Her parents sat across from her, bowls of faux steaming between them. The room smelled of basil and star anise, but there was no comfort in it. Her mother, Linda, served her a bowl with practiced hands. You're too skinny, Con. Eat more. Her father, Nathan, cleared his throat. We need to talk. What is this nonsense I heard from Uncle Fong? You've been skipping family gatherings. What are you hiding? Emily's heart thudded, so loud she was sure they could hear it. I need to tell you something, she said quietly, voice catching. I'm pregnant. The silence was immediate and suffocating. Linda's hand froze midair, still holding the chopsticks. Nathan stared at her as if she had spoken in tongues. Excuse me? Nathan said sharply. I'm about 10 weeks along, she whispered. The father isn't going to be involved. Nathan's face turned red, the vein on his temple throbbing. Who is it? He demanded. It doesn't matter, she said. Doesn't matter, he exploded. You think this is a game? You bring shame into this house and now it doesn't matter. Linda clutched her chest, shaking her head, whispering Troy oi under her breath. You're not married. You live alone. How are you going to raise a child? You think you can just do this and expect us to accept it? Nathan stood now, voice rising. I'm not asking you to raise him, Emily said, tears spilling. I just wanted to be honest with you. You've embarrassed us. What will people say? What will the community think? Her mother whispered. Emily's heart broke, not because they were angry, but because they were only angry about themselves. Not once had they asked her if she was okay. So that's it, she said, voice cracking. You care more about what people will say than your own grandchild? Nathan's face twisted. You don't get to lecture us. Get out. What? You heard me, he said coldly. You want to live like an adult? Fine. Then handle the consequences. You are no longer welcome here. Linda didn't stop him. She didn't even look up. Emily walked out into the night with her bag and a hollow chest. The sky above San Jose was streaked with pink and purple, the sun dipping beneath the hills, but she couldn't see any beauty in it. She called one person. Olivia. Her sister answered after 2 rings. Hey, Em. Everything okay? Emily opened her mouth. No words came. Just sobs. I'll be right there, Olivia said instantly. 20 minutes later, Olivia pulled up outside Emily's apartment in her old Subaru, wrapped her arms around her sister, and didn't let go. She didn't ask questions. She didn't need to. Later, sitting on the couch with a cup of ginger tea, Emily finally said the words, "They kicked me out. I'm pregnant." Olivia's face softened. "I figured something was going on," she said gently. "But I'm here. I've got you." "I don't know what to do," Emily whispered. "Well, first," Olivia said, smiling through tears, "you're going to stay with me. And we're going to figure this out together. You're not alone." And just like that, Emily felt the first drop of warmth seep back into her cold chest. Maybe everything had fallen apart, but her sister had stayed. And for now, that was enough. Chapter 2, A New Kind of Home. Emily awoke to the unfamiliar scent of lavender and sunlight pouring through white curtains. For a moment, she didn't know where she was until she saw Olivia's cat, Miso, curled at her feet and the soft hum of traffic outside the apartment window. It all came rushing back, the second pink line, her father's voice telling her to leave. The endless crying in Olivia's arms. She was no longer welcome in the house she grew up in. But here, Olivia's place, it was calm, quiet, safe. She sat up slowly, placing a hand on her barely there bump. "You're still here. We're still here." There was a knock at the door. "Come in," she said, her voice hoarse. Olivia peeked in, holding 2 mugs. "Morning. I brought you some warm lemon water and toast. Didn't know if baby wants anything fancier yet." Emily managed a weak smile. "Thanks. I'm still getting used to saying the word baby out loud." Olivia sat beside her, handing her the mug. "That makes 2 of us." They sipped quietly for a moment. Olivia glanced at her sister. "I'm sorry about Mom and Dad." Emily stared down into her cup. "I shouldn't be surprised. Dad always cared more about appearances than people. But I guess I thought, maybe they'd yell, then calm down. Not kick me out like a stranger. They're scared." Olivia said carefully. "Not that it excuses it. But fear makes people cruel." Emily gave a bitter laugh. "Then I guess they're terrified." Olivia put an arm around her. "Well, lucky for you. I'm the brave one in the family." Emily finally smiled. A real one. That afternoon, Olivia drove Emily to her first prenatal appointment. They waited in a softly lit waiting room with photos of smiling mothers and babies on the wall. Emily couldn't stop fidgeting. "I don't even know what I'm supposed to ask," she whispered. "Then just listen," Olivia said. "You've got this." The nurse, kind and patient, took her blood pressure, weight, and went over her medical history. Then the doctor arrived, a warm, middle-aged woman named Dr. Alvarez, who treated Emily like an old friend rather than a scared, single 24-year-old. When it was time for the first ultrasound, Emily's palms turned clammy. Olivia held her hand tightly as the gel was applied to her stomach. And then, there it was. A flicker. A heartbeat. A tiny bean-shaped life floating on the screen. Emily gasped, tears springing to her eyes. "That's my baby?" Dr. Alvarez smiled. "That's your baby. About the size of a strawberry right now. Heartbeat looks strong." Emily looked at Olivia, who was wiping her own eyes. "I think it just got real," Emily whispered. Olivia nodded. "Yeah, that's a whole heartbeat." Over the next few weeks, Olivia rearranged her 2-bedroom apartment. She moved her books into storage to turn her guest room into Emily's room. They bought a second-hand crib together on Facebook Marketplace and painted the walls a soft shade of mint green. Emily kept working part-time at the dental office while her belly grew. The nausea came and went like waves, but Olivia was always ready with crackers, peppermint tea, or the occasional emergency Target run at 9 p.m. for chocolate pudding. They started a quiet rhythm, Olivia grading papers at the kitchen table while Emily read baby name blogs on her laptop. Some nights, they laughed over bad baby names. "You're not naming him Wolfgang, Emily. But it sounds powerful. Asterisk." Other nights, they sat in silence, their hearts heavier with what they didn't say aloud, like how their parents still hadn't called. Not once. One rainy Sunday, Olivia brought home a photo album from their childhood. They flipped through the pages together: birthdays, holidays, family vacations. There was one photo that made Emily pause, a 7-year-old Olivia hugging baby Emily with a toothless grin. "You always protected me," Emily said softly. "Even back then." Olivia shrugged. "It's my job." "No," Emily said. "It's not. You could have stayed out of it. But you didn't." Olivia closed the album. "Family isn't just about blood. It's about who shows up. That's what I believe." Emily bit her lip. "Do you think Mom and Dad will ever come around?" "I don't know," Olivia admitted. "But even if they don't, you'll have me. And this baby will have someone who shows up." Emily leaned her head on Olivia's shoulder. "Thank you, Liv." "For what?" "For being my real home." One evening, as Emily lay in bed rubbing her growing belly, she whispered, "You don't know it yet, little one, but your aunt saved both our lives." She imagined what her child would look like, whether he'd have Daniel's wavy hair or her nose. Whether he'd one day ask about grandparents. She didn't have all the answers. But she had something better. She had love. And for now, that was enough. Chapter 3. The Wedding Dress in the Closet. The sound of soft classical music drifted from the kitchen as Olivia hummed along. Chopping carrots for dinner. Emily leaned against the doorframe, hands resting on her now noticeable bump. Her eyes followed her sister's graceful movements, the way Olivia always seemed so calm. Even when the world felt like it was unraveling. "You always make everything look easy," Emily said. Olivia glanced back and smiled. "Only because I've had practice pretending." Emily chuckled. "Still, I don't know how you do it. Teaching hormonal teenagers all day, then coming home and taking care of me. You're not a burden, Em. Don't ever think that." Emily stepped into the kitchen, picking up a stray carrot slice. "I think about it sometimes. How different my life might have been if Daniel had stayed. Or if Mom and Dad hadn't slammed the door on me." Olivia wiped her hands and turned to face her. "Different doesn't always mean better." Emily was quiet for a moment. "Do you think they ever think about me?" "I think they do. But pride is loud. And regret is quiet." After dinner, Olivia disappeared into her bedroom and returned with a white garment bag. She handed it to Emily with a mysterious look. "What's this?" "Open it." Emily slowly unzipped the bag, her fingers trembling slightly. Inside was a wedding dress, simple, elegant, with delicate lace detailing on the sleeves and a flowing skirt. "It's beautiful." Emily breathed. "Whose is it?" "Mine," Olivia said. "Well, it was supposed to be." Emily turned to her, confused. "I was engaged once," Olivia said softly. "You were 16 at the time." "I didn't tell anyone. Not even Mom and Dad. We were only together a year, but I thought it was forever. He proposed during a weekend in Lake Tahoe. I said yes. Then 6 weeks before the wedding, I caught him cheating." Emily's eyes widened. "Liv, I had no idea. I didn't want you to. I didn't want anyone to see me as broken." Olivia gave a wry smile. "So I boxed it all up. The plans, the dress, the pain." Emily touched the fabric gently. "Why show it to me now?" "Because," Olivia said, her voice thickening, "I want you to have it. If you ever get married, whenever that happens, I want you to wear this. Not because it's left over, but because it's been through something. Like you. And it's still standing. Like you." Emily's throat tightened. She couldn't speak. She simply stepped forward and hugged her sister as tightly as she could, tears slipping down her face. "I love you, Olivia," she whispered. "I love you more," Olivia replied, holding her like she'd never let go. Later that night, as Emily lay in bed, she stared at the ceiling and thought about everything Olivia had said. For so long, she'd seen her sister as untouchable, perfect, composed, strong. But tonight, she saw the cracks beneath the surface. The hidden pain. The quiet sacrifices. It made Olivia's love feel even more profound. More real. She reached for her journal and scribbled a note. "The people who stay, the ones who show up even when it's hard, those are the ones who carry us when we think we can't walk anymore." The next morning brought unexpected news. Olivia knocked gently on Emily's door, phone in hand and brows drawn together. You should see this. Emily sat up slowly. What's wrong? Olivia handed her the phone. A text message from her cousin, Natalie. Hey, just wanted you to know Uncle Nathan collapsed at a shop. Ambulance took him to regional. Aunt Linda is there. Thought you should know. Even if, you know. Emily's body went cold. Dad. Hospital. Ambulance. She hadn't heard those words in the same sentence before. She stared at the screen, heart pounding. Should I go? She asked. Almost to herself. Olivia knelt beside the bed. That's your choice, Em. No one would blame you if you didn't. But if you do go, you'll know you did everything you could. For your sake, not theirs. Emily looked down at her belly. The baby gave a faint flutter, as if answering her. I need to go, she said. I need to know. An hour later. Olivia and Emily stood at the entrance of San Jose Regional Medical Center. The sterile smell of antiseptic filled the air, along with the distant beeping of machines and the low murmur of nurses. Emily's palms were clammy as she approached the nurse's station. I'm here to see Nathan Tran. I'm his daughter. The nurse glanced at the chart. Room 421. 2 visitors only. They made their way to the room. Emily's feet felt like they were moving through wet cement. Inside, she saw her mother first, sitting hunched in a corner chair, face pale, hands twisted in her lap. Then she looked at the man lying in the hospital bed. Her father. Thinner than she remembered. Eyes closed. A breathing tube in place. Her mother looked up. The moment their eyes met, time stopped. Linda stood, disbelief washing over her features. Emily. I heard, Emily said, her voice barely audible. I didn't think you'd. Her mother's words trailed off. Emily stepped forward, trying to ignore the ache in her chest. I'm here. That's what matters. Chapter 4. More than blood. The hospital room was still, except for the steady beeping of the heart monitor and the faint hum of machines beside the bed. Emily stood frozen in the doorway, her heart pounding in her chest. Her mother, Linda, stared at her as if trying to confirm that this wasn't some fevered dream brought on by exhaustion. I didn't expect you, Linda finally said, her voice hoarse from crying or perhaps guilt. Emily took a breath, stepping closer to the bed. Her father's face was pale, thinner than she remembered. A bruise bloomed across his left cheek, likely from the fall. The oxygen tube looped around his nose, and his chest rose and fell with a shallow rhythm. He had a minor stroke, Linda said, as if the words might break her. They said it wasn't too bad. But he has to stay for monitoring. Olivia stood behind Emily, giving her silent support. Emily placed a tentative hand on the foot of the bed. I'm glad he's stable. Linda nodded, swallowing hard. Her eyes dropped to Emily's belly. Is that, she began. Emily laid a hand protectively over her bump. Yes. They both stood there for a long moment. The silence wasn't angry, it was heavy. Suspended in the space between hurt and healing. I heard from your cousin that you were here in the city, Linda said softly. I wanted to call, but you didn't. I didn't know how. Emily met her mother's eyes. You didn't know how to tell your daughter you missed her? Or your grandchild? Linda flinched. I was scared, Emily. Your father, he was so angry. And she took a shaky breath. I didn't stop him. I didn't protect you. And I regret it. Every single day. Emily's throat tightened. A storm of emotions roared inside her, hurt, longing, love, sadness. My baby is due in 2 months, she said, her voice trembling. You've missed everything. The ultrasounds, the baby kicking, the first time I felt him hiccup. And when I needed you most. You weren't there. Tears welled up in Linda's eyes. I know. I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I still hope, maybe one day. Emily blinked away tears. I don't know if I'm ready to forgive yet. But I'm here. That's something. Olivia gently touched Emily's shoulder. Take your time. You're allowed to. Emily nodded. I came because, despite everything, he's still my father. And you're still my mother. And I don't want Leo, my son, to grow up not knowing where he comes from. Linda's face softened. Leo. That's a beautiful name. It means lion, Emily said quietly. Strong. Fierce. You've always been stronger than you realize. No, Emily replied. I became strong because I had to. Later that afternoon, Emily returned to the hospital with a bag of essentials, clean socks, a phone charger, a thermos of soup. She handed it all to her mother without a word. Linda accepted it like a sacred offering. I'll cover the hospital bill, Emily added. Don't argue. We can't let you. I want to. Let me. Linda's lips trembled. She looked away, ashamed. From her bag, Emily pulled out a small envelope and handed it over. What's this? Linda asked. Emily smiled faintly. It's Leo's latest ultrasound. Thought you might want to see your grandson. Linda stared at the black and white image, her hands shaking. Her eyes widened as she traced the outline of the tiny profile. He's perfect, she whispered. I think so. That evening, Emily and Olivia sat in the hospital cafeteria with paper cups of lukewarm coffee between them. Emily stared out the window, watching the sky shift into soft hues of twilight. I didn't think it would hurt this much to see her, Emily admitted. Even after everything, part of me just wanted her to hug me. Like nothing had ever happened. Olivia stirred her coffee slowly. Love doesn't go away, even when it breaks. Do you think they can change? I think people change when they're ready to look at what they've done and truly feel it. That kind of honesty isn't easy. Emily nodded. She looked like she had aged 10 years. I think the guilt has been eating her alive. Let her sit with it, Olivia said gently. Let her do the work. But don't let her pain erase what you've been through. Emily rested her head against the window. I won't. But I also won't let Leo grow up without knowing what grace looks like. What second chances mean. 2 days later, Emily walked into the hospital room holding Leo's first little onesie, bright yellow with a lion on the front. Linda was sitting by the window with a book but looked up with surprise. I wanted to show you something, Emily said. She held up the onesie and smiled. I picked this because I want my son to know he can be brave, even when the world tells him to be ashamed. Even when people turn their backs. I want him to know he comes from women who kept walking even when the road disappeared. Linda looked at the tiny outfit, her hand trembling as she touched the soft cotton. I want him to know. Emily said, that family doesn't mean perfect. It means choosing to stay, to show up, even when it's hard. Linda nodded, her voice a whisper. Then let me try. Let me show up. I don't deserve it. But I'll earn it. Emily looked at her mother, the same woman who once slammed a door in her face and, for the first time, saw not rejection, but remorse. And that, maybe, was a beginning. Chapter 5. The First Kick. The apartment was quiet when Emily returned that evening. Olivia had left a note on the kitchen counter. Had to run to school for parent-teacher conferences. Left dinner in the fridge. Call me if you need anything, oh. Emily warmed up the pasta her sister had made and sat down at the table, stirring her food absent-mindedly. Her heart was still heavy from the hospital. Seeing her mother cry, really cry, had been something she never thought she'd witness. And yet, there it was. Real. Human. Guilt and sadness stirred within her, but beneath it all, something lighter was beginning to grow, hope. She carried her plate to the sink and glanced at the calendar Olivia had pinned to the fridge. Her due date was circled in red, June 2nd. Less than 8 weeks away. She placed both hands on her belly. We're almost there, baby. Leo had been quiet all day. Normally. He wiggled when she ate or when Olivia played him music from her laptop, claiming to raise a cultured child from the womb. But today, nothing. Just silence. Emily sat on the couch and picked up her favorite worn-out book of poems. She opened to a page she'd marked with a yellow sticky note and began reading aloud. Still, I rise, she recited softly. Maya Angelou's words wrapping around her like a warm blanket. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise. I rise. I rise. A sudden flutter stopped her mid-sentence. Emily gasped, her hand flying to her stomach. Another kick, stronger this time. A purposeful nudge, like a knock from inside. She laughed. Tears springing to her eyes. Leo, she whispered. Is that you, sweetheart? The answer came again. A tiny thump beneath her ribs. It was the first time he'd kicked hard enough for her to really feel him. Not just fluttering or bubbles, but presence. Intention. She grabbed her phone and quickly video called Olivia. Her sister answered in a school hallway, still in her blazer, exhausted but alert. "Everything okay?" "He kicked," Emily said, her voice trembling with joy. "Liv, he kicked." "I felt it, really felt it." Olivia's eyes lit up. "Oh my God, that's amazing." Emily angled her phone at her belly. "It was right here, just after I read to him." "See?" Olivia grinned. "Told you the kid has taste." They laughed together, a rare sound these days, deep and unburdened. "I wish Mom had been there for that," Emily admitted after a moment. "Not because I need her approval, but because it was beautiful. And I don't want her to miss all of it." Olivia's voice softened. "Maybe she won't. You opened the door. She knows it now. I just don't know how much I'm supposed to let in. As much as you choose. That's the difference now." That weekend, Olivia surprised Emily with a small baby shower in their living room. Just a few close friends, some cupcakes, and a garland that read, "Welcome, baby Leo," in gold glitter. Olivia had even borrowed a folding chair from the neighbor for Emily to sit like a queen. Emily sat under a soft canopy of paper lanterns, a hand on her belly as her friends passed around onesies, storybooks, and plush toys. "This one's from me," Olivia said, handing her a rectangular package wrapped in simple brown paper. Emily tore the edges and opened the lid. Inside was a handmade baby scrapbook. The first page was already filled. "To Leo." It read in Olivia's tidy handwriting, "You are already so loved. This is the beginning of your story. A story of strength, forgiveness, and the family that chose you long before you were born." Emily pressed the book to her chest, her eyes filling with tears. "You're too good to me." "No," Olivia said, crouching beside her. "You just finally have people who see how good you are." After the guests left, Emily stood on the balcony with a cup of chamomile tea, staring out at the San Jose skyline. The city buzzed softly beneath the stars. She felt a different kind of silence tonight, not the emptiness of rejection, but the peace of things slowly mending. Her phone buzzed. A new message. From her mother. "I would like to be there when he's born. If you'll let me." Emily stared at the screen for a long moment, heart pounding. The anger didn't rise this time. Only stillness. And then, surprisingly, yes. Yes, she wanted her mother there. Not because she needed saving, but because she wanted her son to know what forgiveness looked like. She typed her reply. "Okay, one step at a time. But yes, later." Lying in bed, Emily placed both hands on her belly. "We're not alone anymore," she whispered. Leo kicked again, as if in reply. Chapter 6. Inhale. Exhale. The morning light filtered softly through Olivia's sheer curtains, casting gentle shadows on the hardwood floor. Emily sat on the yoga mat Olivia had rolled out for her, trying to focus on her breathing. Inhale, 2, 3. Exhale, 2, 3. She pressed one hand to her belly, which felt impossibly full now at 34 weeks. Each movement took more effort. Every breath required intention. And yet, amid the heaviness, she felt a strange calm, a quiet sense of purpose. Behind her, Olivia's voice echoed from the kitchen. "Do you want lemon in your tea or just honey today?" "Both, please," Emily called back. "Bossy already, aren't you?" Olivia teased as she appeared with a steaming mug. "I'm carrying a lion. I get to make unreasonable demands." They both laughed. Emily took the tea, savoring its warmth. Then she held up her phone. "I got a message." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "From Mom?" Emily nodded. "She wants to come to my next appointment." Olivia sat down beside her. "How do you feel about that?" "Like I've spent months building this wall. And now I'm poking a hole in it and not sure what might crawl through." She paused, then added more softly, "But I also want her there. Even if it's hard." "That's the thing about healing," Olivia said. "It's not about forgetting the pain. It's about choosing to grow around it." Emily smiled. "You're annoyingly wise, you know. I'm a teacher. Comes with the job." A few days later, Emily stood outside the OB/GYN clinic, heart thudding in her chest. Olivia was at work, and for the first time in months, Emily wasn't going in alone. Her mother was late. Of course. She considered going inside without her, but before she could take a step, a familiar voice called out, "Emily." She turned. Linda stood there, holding a small bouquet of lavender and baby's breath. Her eyes started nervously. "I wasn't sure what to bring," Linda said, extending the flowers. "I thought maybe something calming." Emily took them slowly, fingers brushing against her mother's for the first time in almost a year. "Thanks," she said. "They're beautiful." Linda looked relieved, like the simple word had given her permission to breathe. They walked in together. The waiting room was quiet, a few other mothers flipping through magazines or tapping on their phones. Linda sat beside Emily, hands clasped tightly in her lap. "You look healthy," Linda said, trying to smile. "Strong. I feel different," Emily replied. "Not just physically. Like I'm not the same girl you kicked out." Linda flinched. "I deserved that." Emily looked down. "I didn't say it to punish you. I'm saying it because I want you to meet the woman I've become. Not the version you imagined. The real one." Before Linda could respond, the nurse called her name. Emily stood, then paused. "You coming?" Linda's eyes widened slightly. Then she rose and followed. In the exam room, Dr. Alvarez greeted them both warmly. Emily. And you must be Grandma." Linda flushed. "Yes. I'm trying to earn that title back." Dr. Alvarez smiled gently. "We all grow into our roles. Let's take a look at how little Leo is doing." As the ultrasound machine whirred to life, Emily lay back and pulled up her shirt. Linda sat in stunned silence as the screen lit up with the shape of her grandson. "There he is," Dr. Alvarez said. "Heartbeat strong. Everything's progressing well." Emily watched her mother's eyes fill with tears as she saw Leo's tiny limbs fluttering. "He's real," Linda whispered. Emily turned her head toward her. "He's always been real, even when you didn't want to see him." Linda nodded slowly. "I was scared, Emily. Not just of shame. Of losing control. Of failing you as a mother." "You did fail me," Emily said gently. "But you also showed up today. That matters." The silence between them wasn't empty this time. It was full of truth, of pain, of possibilities. As they walked back to the parking lot, Linda stopped beside her car. "I don't expect forgiveness all at once, but I'd like to start again if you'll let me." Emily hesitated. Then she offered her hand. "Start here," she said, "with being a grandma." That night, Olivia returned from work to find Emily in the nursery, folding tiny onesies into a dresser drawer. The baby shower gifts were neatly arranged, and a little stuffed lion sat guard in the crib. "Someone looks peaceful," Olivia said, kicking off her shoes. "I let Mom come today," Emily said. Olivia raised an eyebrow. "She cried during the ultrasound. Didn't even try to hide it." Olivia walked over and leaned against the doorframe. "You okay?" Emily nodded. "I'm not letting her all the way in yet. But I think I want Leo to know the version of her that's trying. Not the one who slammed the door." "Then you're giving him the best gift a mother can," Olivia said. "A chance to grow up without inherited bitterness." Emily looked around the room, at the soft glow of the nightlight, at the tiny socks neatly rolled in rows. "For the first time in months," she said, "I'm not just surviving. I'm looking forward." And with that, she placed a small framed photo on the dresser, an old picture of her, Olivia, and their mother at a beach in Santa Cruz, long before things went wrong. The past didn't disappear, but sometimes it could be reassembled gently, piece by piece. Chapter 7. Early arrival. It was just past midnight when the first cramp struck. Emily sat up in bed, one hand pressed instinctively to her belly. At first, she thought it was just another false alarm. Braxton Hicks' contractions had been teasing her for the last 2 weeks. But this one felt different. Sharper. Deeper. Then came another. And another. She pulled back the covers and swung her legs over the side of the bed, wincing. Her breath hitched as a wave of pressure rolled through her. The baby wasn't due for another 3 weeks. Not yet, she whispered, rubbing her belly. Not tonight. But Leo, it seemed, had other plans. By the time Olivia rushed into the room, Emily was bent over the kitchen counter, white-knuckled and pale. Okay, Olivia said calmly. Despite her racing heart, hospital now? Emily nodded, her voice strained. Please. They grabbed the go bag, phone chargers, water bottles. Olivia helped Emily down the stairs, murmuring encouragement with every step. You're doing amazing. Just breathe. In, out. I swear, Emily grunted, if you say inhale. Exhale one more time. I'll shut up. Got it. Just don't go into labor in the car, okay? San Jose Regional Hospital was strangely quiet at 2 a.m., the halls dimmed. Nurses moving with practiced calm. A triage nurse ushered them into a delivery suite. How far along are you? She asked Emily while strapping monitors to her belly. 37 weeks and 1 day. Emily said, gasping between breaths. Looks like someone's eager to meet his mama. Emily couldn't even muster a smile. He picked great timing. As the contractions intensified, Olivia stood beside her, holding her hand. Her grip was strong, reassuring, but Emily could see the nerves beneath the surface. What if something goes wrong? Emily whispered. Olivia brushed her hair from her face. Then we handle it. Like we've handled everything else. A few minutes later, there was a soft knock at the door. It was Linda. Olivia turned in surprise. Emily sat up slightly. I didn't know if I should come, Linda said, holding a tote bag and looking more fragile than Emily had ever seen her. But when I didn't hear from you, I couldn't sleep. She looked at Olivia, then back at Emily. I'll wait outside if you want. Emily hesitated. The pain came again, a surge that left her shaking. She reached out a hand. Stay, she said. Linda stepped inside, tears welling up instantly. I'm here, baby. I'm here. The next few hours blurred into sweat, screams, pressure, and time bending in all directions. Emily clung to both Olivia and her mother, switching hands between contractions, moaning through the pain, whispering encouragement to herself and to the baby. You're strong. I'm strong. We've got this. At 6:14 a.m., the first cries echoed through the room. Emily collapsed back against the pillows, sobbing from exhaustion and relief. A nurse placed the small, wriggling bundle onto her chest, and all of time seemed to stop. Leo. He was real. Warm. Breathing. Perfect. His eyes fluttered open, tiny fists curled under his chin. Hi, baby, she whispered, pressing her lips to his forehead. You're here. You're really here. Later, Olivia stepped out to grab coffee. Linda remained by the bedside, watching Emily cradle Leo in her arms. I wasn't there when you needed me, Linda said, her voice shaking. I thought being strict would protect you. But I see now it only pushed you away. And I almost missed this. Missed him. Emily looked up. Her mother's face was raw with emotion, years of unspoken words rising to the surface. I can't change what I did, Linda continued. But if you let me, I'd like to be part of his life. Of your life. Emily stared at her newborn son. He yawned, the tiniest, sweetest expression she had ever seen. She turned to her mother. I'm still angry, Emily admitted. I still don't understand everything. But I see that you're trying. I am, Linda whispered. Then yes, Emily said softly. You can be here. For him. For me. But it starts with now, not the past. Linda reached out and gently touched Leo's foot. Hello, sweetheart. I'm your grandma. Emily watched them both, heart aching and healing all at once. Maybe forgiveness wasn't about erasing pain. Maybe it was about making room for love beside it. 2 hours later, Olivia returned. A cardboard tray of coffee in one hand and a stuffed giraffe in the other. Well, she said with mock solemnity, I leave you two alone for 1 hour and you birth a whole human. Emily laughed, wiping her eyes. Leo wanted to be dramatic. He gets that from you. Emily looked at her sister, then her mother. And for the first time in a very long time, she felt something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in months. Safe. Chapter 8. 3 generations under one roof. The sun filtered through the nursery curtains, casting a golden warmth across the tiny crib. Leo, swaddled in a soft green blanket, lay sleeping with his mouth slightly open, his breath steady and peaceful. Emily sat in the rocking chair beside him, eyes tired but full of quiet awe. She had slept a total of 3 hours in the last 2 days, yet somehow, her heart had never been so full. Olivia entered with a tray of oatmeal, sliced fruit, and a much-needed cup of coffee. "You're spoiling me," Emily whispered with a grateful smile. "I consider it a public service," Olivia replied, placing the tray on the dresser. "And besides, you just brought a human into the world. The least I can do is feed you something that isn't cold toast." Emily chuckled. "Where's Mom?" "She's reorganizing your kitchen cabinets. I think that's her love language." Emily smiled, but said nothing. Watching her mother wash bottles and fold onesies had been surreal, almost like watching a stranger act out a familiar role. Sometimes it comforted her. Sometimes it confused her. Sometimes it still hurt. Later that afternoon, the apartment was filled with soft music and the occasional squeak of a rubber duck as Linda gently bathed Leo in the sink. "You have to keep the water warm, but not too hot," she explained, her hands surprisingly sure despite how long it had been. "Just like when you were a baby." Emily stood nearby, watching. "You always made it look easy." Linda glanced up, her expression wistful. "It wasn't. I was always terrified of doing something wrong. I didn't know how to show love except through routines, through order." "I used to think you didn't know how to love me at all," Emily admitted. Linda looked down, gently pouring water over Leo's tiny belly. "Maybe I didn't know how to love you the way you needed to be loved. I only knew how to keep you safe. I thought that was enough." Emily sat on the edge of the counter, the quiet hum of the faucet filling the space between them. "But when you left," Linda continued, "when you got pregnant and I turned my back, I realized safety means nothing without presence." Leo let out a tiny sneeze, and they both laughed. "He forgives easily," Emily said. "Babies do," Linda replied. "It's the grown-ups who forget how." That evening, Olivia poured glasses of sparkling water for all 3 women and raised hers like a toast. "To Leo," she said, "who somehow brought us all back together before he could even talk." They clinked glasses. Emily sat on the couch, Leo nestled in her arms, staring up at her with eyes still trying to focus on the world. "He's going to grow up surrounded by strong women," Olivia added. "God help his future teachers." Linda laughed, but her eyes shimmered. "Or maybe he'll grow up learning how to listen to women. Really listen." Emily looked down at her son, brushing a thumb across his tiny cheek. "I hope he learns more than that," she said softly. "I hope he learns that people can change, that they can be broken and still choose to heal." The days blurred in the way early newborn days do, feedings, diaper changes, naps measured in minutes. Emily and Leo moved through their own rhythm, with Olivia and Linda rotating in and out of the room like trusted backup dancers. Some mornings, Linda would be up before anyone else, folding laundry or preparing congee. Other nights, Olivia would walk Leo up and down the hallway while Emily stole an hour of sleep. One night, Emily woke to find her mother asleep in the nursery's rocking chair, Leo pressed against her chest, both of them breathing in tandem. For a long moment, Emily just stood in the doorway, the lump in her throat too big to swallow. There was no perfection in this picture, no magical fix. But there was love. Maybe messy, maybe late, but real. A week later, Emily received a small package in the mail. Inside was a photo album labeled "The Women of Our Family." On the first page was a photo of Linda as a young mother holding baby Emily. Beside it, Olivia with teenage Emily at her high school graduation. And now, the latest, Emily with Leo, wrapped together on the hospital bed. Beneath the last photo was a handwritten note in her mother's careful script. "Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It means remembering and still choosing to stay. Thank you for letting me stay, Mom." Emily held the note against her heart, Leo's soft breathing warm against her shoulder. 3 generations, she whispered, glancing between her mother's handwriting and her son's tiny fingers. We're rewriting the story. That night, the three women sat together in the living room. Leo slept in a bassinet beside them. The TV hummed softly in the background, but no one was really watching. I've been thinking, Olivia said, maybe we should plan a day trip to Santa Cruz when Leo's old enough. Go back to that old beach we used to visit. Emily smiled. I'd like that. Linda nodded. We can take a new picture. One that's honest. One that shows everything we've been through. And everything we're building, Emily added. They fell into a gentle silence. No one said the word family. But they didn't have to. It was already there. Chapter 9. Back to where it broke. The sun was just beginning to set as Emily pulled into the familiar cul-de-sac in East San Jose, the neighborhood where she had grown up. The house looked exactly the same. White siding, red brick trim, and the same hydrangeas blooming defiantly by the front porch. She sat in the car for a moment, her heart thudding with memory. In the back seat, Leo gurgled, happily kicking his feet in the car seat. You ready, buddy? She asked, glancing back at him. He gave her a toothless grin. She wasn't sure if she was ready, but Leo clearly was. Linda opened the door before Emily could knock, wiping her hands on a kitchen towel. I saw you pull in, she said, smiling nervously. Come in, come in. Emily stepped inside, carrying Leo carefully. The house smelled the same: soy sauce, lemongrass, and a faint trace of old books. The couch still had the same faded floral pattern. Nothing had changed. And yet, everything had. Nathan sat in the recliner by the window. When he looked up, Emily noticed how much older he seemed, thinner, quieter. He started to stand but stopped halfway, unsure. Emily walked slowly toward him, her pulse racing. I brought someone to meet you, she said gently. Nathan's eyes shifted to the baby in her arms. For a moment, he just stared. Like he was trying to match the reality with the guilt he'd been carrying. What's his name? He asked, his voice raspier than she remembered. Leo. Can I? He didn't finish the sentence. But Emily understood. She hesitated, then stepped forward and carefully placed Leo into his arms. Nathan held the child as if he were holding a miracle. His large, weathered hands cradled Leo with surprising tenderness. He's so small, Nathan whispered. Emily watched as Leo blinked up at his grandfather, unfazed. Nathan's eyes grew glassy. I missed everything, he said. His birth. Your pregnancy. You. Emily crossed her arms over her chest, unsure how to respond. Nathan looked up. I was wrong, Emily. So wrong. I let my pride speak louder than my love. And I don't expect you to forgive me today. But I want to know my grandson. I want to do better. Emily swallowed hard. I don't know how to forget what you said. How it felt when you told me to leave. I don't want you to forget, he replied. I want you to remember that I came back. That I learned. Slowly, but I did. Leo cooed in his arms, as if softening the space between them. I came today, Emily said quietly, so that Leo would know where he comes from. But I stayed because I saw how you looked at him. Nathan nodded. Thank you for letting me. In the kitchen, Linda bustled nervously, preparing dinner even though Emily had said they wouldn't stay long. I made your favorite, quechua and grilled catfish, she said. And I didn't forget the rice this time. Emily laughed despite herself. I haven't had that in forever. I still remember how you used to sneak extra pineapple slices when you thought I wasn't looking. I knew you knew. Linda smiled. I knew everything. But I didn't know how to love out loud. Emily leaned against the counter, watching her mother move with intention. You're doing it now. I'm trying, Linda said. That's all I can offer. Emily nodded. That's all I need. Dinner was quieter than it used to be, but more meaningful. Nathan fed Leo his bottle while Linda brought out a box of old photo albums from the closet. They flipped through pages of birthdays, camping trips, and school plays, images frozen in time. This was your 6th grade science fair, Linda said, pointing to a picture of Emily holding a solar system diorama. I remember that day, Emily said softly. I thought you didn't come. I was there, Linda said. Just hiding in the back. I was so afraid you'd fail and be embarrassed. I didn't know how to support you without hovering. Emily shook her head. You should have just been visible. Linda looked at her, eyes full of apology. I see that now. They kept flipping pages until they came to a blank one. Emily picked up a pen and wrote on the top corner in neat, slow letters, Leo's first visit. Nathan looked up. Will there be a second? Emily paused, then smiled. Let's see how this one ends. Before leaving, Emily carried Leo upstairs to her old room. The posters were gone, the bed changed, but traces of her younger self still lingered in the air. She sat on the edge of the bed and rocked Leo gently. This is where your mom cried into a pillow the night she thought no one loved her, she whispered. And now, it's where you giggled at Grandpa's silly faces. She kissed his forehead. We're changing the story, little lion. As they drove home, Olivia texted. How did it go? Emily replied. Better than I expected. Not perfect, but healing. She glanced at Leo in the mirror. His eyes were already drooping, lulled to sleep by the hum of the car and the warmth of the evening. And in that peaceful silence, Emily felt it. Not a clean slate, but a new page. Chapter 10, 100 Days of Light. The living room was dressed in soft gold and white. Paper lanterns floated gently above, and a banner stretched across the back wall. Leo, 100 Days of Light. On the table sat trays of food, spring rolls, fruit skewers, tiny cupcakes, and in the center, a single cake with lion ears made of fondant. Emily adjusted the tiny bow tie on Leo's onesie and smoothed the front of her dress. He squirmed in her arms, gurgling happily as if he understood this was a day for him. I can't believe it's been 100 days, Olivia said, placing a bowl of cha on the table. Feels like yesterday you were shouting at me to shut up during labor. Emily laughed. I regret nothing. The 100-day celebration, Bekael, as Olivia had explained from one of her students' projects, wasn't originally part of their Vietnamese-American tradition, but Emily had loved the idea. A day to celebrate survival, to welcome a baby to the world, and in some ways, to acknowledge everything they had endured to get here. Guests arrived in waves, Olivia's coworkers, Emily's colleagues from the dental office, and even a few friends Emily hadn't seen in years. Some brought gifts. Others simply brought smiles. Then came the knock she wasn't sure would happen. Her parents. Nathan held a wrapped package awkwardly in both hands. Linda clutched a container of homemade sesame balls. For a moment, they stood at the doorway like strangers waiting to be invited into their own daughter's life. Emily took a breath, heart steady. Come in, she said softly. You're just in time. Nathan stepped forward first. We weren't sure if. You're here. That's what matters. Linda's eyes filled with tears. He's grown so much. Emily smiled and tilted Leo slightly toward them. He missed you. The party flowed like water, gentle and warm. Laughter filled the air, stories were exchanged, and Leo was passed from arm to arm like a sacred treasure. At one point, Nathan took the stage Emily had set up for photos and stood quietly beside Leo's stroller. When Emily approached, he cleared his throat. I wrote something, he said, holding up a note card. Emily blinked. You? Public speaking? He smiled. I've made bigger mistakes than bad speeches. Everyone fell silent as Nathan stepped forward, card shaking slightly in his hands. I want to say something not just to my grandson, but to my daughter, he began, voice low but steady. I was not the father I should have been. I let pride convince me that control was love. And I let fear tell me that silence was safer than support. But, Emily, you showed me what strength really is. You taught me what it means to stand up, not just for yourself, but for someone who hasn't even taken their first steps yet. He looked at Leo and then at Emily. You've given this family a second chance. And I want the world to know I'm proud of you. Not because you did everything right, but because you didn't give up, even when we did. The room erupted in quiet applause. Emily stood still, eyes stinging. She walked to her father and hugged him for the first time in what felt like a lifetime. Thank you, she whispered, for showing up. Later that evening, as the guests filtered out, The apartment dimmed into a soft, serene glow. Emily sat on the couch, Leo sleeping on her chest, the last of the music fading into background hum. Olivia placed a blanket over them and sat beside her. "So," she said, "how does it feel? 100 days in." Emily smiled. "Like I survived something bigger than childbirth." Olivia nodded. "You did. You survived heartbreak, disappointment, fear. And now? Now you're writing the next chapter." Linda approached quietly, holding a small box. "I found this in the attic," she said, offering it to Emily. Inside was a tiny gold bracelet, the one Emily had worn as a baby, with her initials etched in delicate script. "I thought maybe Leo could wear it," Linda said. "When he's old enough." Emily traced the letters with her thumb. "Thank you." There was nothing more to say. No more apologies. No need to dissect the past. It had already been transformed. That night, as Emily rocked Leo in the nursery, she whispered softly, 100 days ago, I didn't know how I was going to do this. I didn't know if I had enough love, enough courage, enough strength." Leo stirred but didn't wake. "But we made it," she said. "Together." She looked toward the doorway, where her mother had once stood in anger and where her sister had stood in defiance. Now all of them stood in grace. Emily kissed her son's forehead. This is only the beginning. Chapter 11. The World Beyond the Crib. Emily stood in front of her closet, towel wrapped around her damp hair, eyes scanning through clothes that once made up her professional wardrobe. Pencil skirts, blouses, cardigans. Everything looked smaller than she remembered, physically and emotionally. Leo was 12 weeks old now. The past 100 days had reshaped her world, but not her reflection. That part still looked like someone she was getting reacquainted with. She slipped on a soft cream blouse, one that Olivia had bought for her post-pregnancy. It fit, mostly, but something about it felt unfamiliar. Not wrong. Just new. In the next room, Leo let out a soft whimper, followed by the hiccuping cry Emily had come to know as his "I just woke up and need cuddles" voice. She smiled and walked in, scooping him into her arms. "Morning, little lion," she whispered, swaying with him instinctively. "Big day today. Mama's going back to work." Leo blinked up at her, his tiny hands reaching toward her necklace and missing entirely. Over breakfast, Olivia sat across from her, sipping coffee in her school logo mug. "You sure you're ready?" she asked. "No," Emily admitted, spreading cream cheese on toast with one hand while holding Leo with the other. "But I also don't think I'll ever feel ready." "True. Readiness is a scam. Just means you've practiced pretending." Emily smirked. "Do you ever stop being a teacher?" "Nope. It's a chronic condition." Emily looked down at Leo, who was now happily gumming the edge of his blanket. "I'm terrified." "That's how you know it matters." At 8:30 a.m., Emily kissed Leo's forehead a dozen times before placing him into the bassinet at Linda's house. Her mother had insisted on watching him during her shifts. "He's my grandson. Let me earn back time," Linda had said with uncharacteristic softness. Emily was hesitant at first, but little by little, trust had grown, like a reluctant plant finally turning toward sunlight. Linda greeted her at the door, hair pinned up neatly, baby wipes in one hand, a gentle smile on her lips. "I warmed a bottle already, and I laid out his favorite duck blanket." Emily looked around. The living room now had a playmat in the center and a diaper station near the couch. Leo's giggle floated from a bouncer chair set up by the window. It didn't feel like a house trying to prove something. It felt like a home that had opened its arms again. "Call me if anything feels off," Emily said. "Of course," Linda nodded. "And you go shine at work. You're not just a mom. You're still you." The words landed unexpectedly deep. At the dental clinic, Emily stepped back into fluorescent lights, latex gloves, and the gentle buzz of equipment. Her coworkers greeted her with hugs, coffee, and plenty of questions. "Where's the baby pic? Show us Leo." "Girl, your skin is glowing. You must be getting some sleep." "Back already? You're a superhero." Emily smiled, grateful but overwhelmed. She clicked back into her routine, scanning charts, sterilizing tools, setting up trays, but everything had shifted. Her body remembered the motions, but her heart beat differently now. In the break room, she stared at a photo taped to her locker, her and Leo in the nursery, both looking equally confused. "He looks just like you," her coworker Maya said, leaning over. "Same stubborn chin." Emily chuckled. "Let's hope he gets my sister's brains. Or your heart," Maya added. "That boy's going to be loved straight into the stars." Emily blinked, caught off guard. "Thanks. I needed that." By the end of her shift, Emily's feet ached, her back hurt, and her shirt had a mysterious stain she hoped was from coffee, but her spirit felt alive. It wasn't easy balancing the weight of new motherhood with old expectations, but for the first time in months, she felt like both versions of herself were standing side by side, neither erased, both evolving. She called Linda on the drive home. "Everything okay?" she asked before even saying hello. "Perfect," her mother replied. "He napped twice, drank all his milk. And, oh, he giggled in his sleep." Emily laughed, tears stinging her eyes. "Did you get a video?" 3. That night, Olivia found her in the nursery, watching Leo sleep. "You did it," Olivia said softly. "Halfway," Emily replied. "No, you did it. You went to work. You came back. He's safe. You're safe. That's a whole victory." Emily rested her head on Olivia's shoulder. "I used to think becoming a mom would mean giving everything else up. But now, I think I'm just learning how to be more." Olivia nodded. "You're expanding." They stood there in silence, watching Leo breathe. 3 women, 3 stories, 1 child who unknowingly carried the redemption of them all. Chapter 12. A Quiet Question. Tuesday mornings at the dental clinic were always hectic. Everyone seemed to remember they needed clean teeth right before the weekend. Emily moved swiftly through her routine. Gloves on, tray prepped, polite conversation with patients. But today, her mind was elsewhere. Not because Leo had kept her up all night. He hadn't, miraculously. He slept 4 straight hours. And not because she was worried about her mother watching him. Linda had become surprisingly adept at swaddling and baby songs. Today, her thoughts kept circling back to Alex. Dr. Alex Reed, the clinic's part-time dentist. Kind eyes, patient tone, and a habit of humming jazz standards when he thought no one was listening. He had returned from a dental conference in Chicago that morning. His first words to her had been, "Hey, Emily, how's the little lion?" Her heart had stuttered at how naturally he'd remembered the nickname. She'd smiled, replying, "He's roaring louder every day." It wasn't flirting. Not really. But there had been a softness in his tone. A pause. An invitation. Now, standing in the break room alone with her coffee, she felt her heartbeat tap faster against her ribs. She hadn't thought about love in a long time. Not since Daniel walked out and left her holding the wreckage of their decisions. Not since the moment her parents disowned her. Survival had taken up all the space where love used to live. And yet, the idea of someone seeing her now, not just before the baby, but as this new version of herself, made her breath hitch. Later that afternoon, Alex caught her on the way out. "Hey," he said, jogging up, his scrubs still slightly dusted with toothpaste powder. "You off?" She nodded. "Headed to pick up Leo. He starts whining if I'm 10 minutes late. Future drama major, I think." Alex smiled. "I've been meaning to ask. I'm doing this charity dental clinic on Sunday downtown. Just a half day. I could use an extra pair of skilled hands. And maybe a smart mouth to keep me awake." Emily raised an eyebrow. "Are you asking me to volunteer or asking me out?" His eyes twinkled. "What if it's a little of both?" For a split second, she felt panic rise. The old voice. "You're a mom now. You don't have time. You don't have the right." But then Leo's laughter from a video her mom had sent echoed in her memory, and she remembered what Olivia said just days before. "You're expanding." Emily bit her lip. "I'll have to check if Grandma's free Sunday morning." Alex's smile grew. "Let me know." That evening, Emily sat on the couch, bouncing Leo on her knee as Olivia graded papers beside her. "Do you remember Alex Reed?" she asked casually. Olivia didn't look up. Tall? Always smells like mint and good decisions. Emily blinked. That's disturbingly accurate. He asked you out? He asked me to volunteer. But also, maybe not just that. Olivia finally looked up, her grin wide. Well, it's about time. I don't know, Liv. What if I'm just not ready? What if I mess it all up again? Then you'll pick yourself up. And you'll still have Leo. And me. And probably your mom, who's now baking you cookies every time you drop him off. Emily laughed. She is going a little overboard with the banana bread. Olivia grew more serious. You've been through hell, Em. But that doesn't mean you don't get joy. You don't have to apologize for rebuilding. Love doesn't make you irresponsible. It just makes you human. Emily looked down at Leo, who was now chewing on her fingers like they were teething rings. I want him to see me happy, she said. Not just functioning. Olivia leaned over and kissed Leo's head. Then take the step. Even a small one. On Sunday morning, Emily stood in front of the mirror adjusting her ponytail for the third time. Leo was already with Linda, giggling as she read him a book in broken Vietnamese and English. Emily wore simple jeans and a soft lavender top, practical but pretty. She stared at herself in the mirror. Not a girl. Not quite the woman she used to be. Someone new. Someone in between. She grabbed her keys and whispered to her reflection. You're allowed to begin again. Then she turned and walked out the door. Chapter 13. A different kind of spark. The pop-up dental clinic in downtown San Jose was housed in an old community center just off 7th Street. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, and the scent of antiseptic mixed with donated pastries wafted through the open windows. Foldable chairs lined the walls, and makeshift dental stations were set up across the room. Emily arrived early, clipboard in hand, her nerves humming louder than the buzzing tools. She spotted Alex immediately leaning over a young boy in a portable dental chair, cracking jokes in between quick bursts of suction and polish. Tell you what, he said, grinning. You sit through this fluoride treatment like a champ, and I'll personally secure you 2 extra cookies from the table. The boy giggled and gave him a thumbs up. Emily stood quietly until he noticed her. Hey, he said, pulling off his gloves. You came. I did, she smiled. Leo gave me permission to leave the house. He's very mature for his age. Alex laughed. I knew he was going to be chill. For a moment, they just stood there, not in a dental clinic, not among strangers, but suspended in that strange, tender space between familiarity and possibility. Come on, he said finally. Let me show you around. They fell into an easy rhythm. Emily managed intake, chatted with patients, helped sanitize tools, even fixed a jammed water line using a hairpin she found in her pocket. Alex shot her a look of impressed admiration. You always carry emergency engineering supplies? I'm a mom, she replied. It's like being a superhero, but with less credit and more snacks in your purse. He laughed, eyes lingering on her for a beat longer than expected. They worked through patients steadily, most of them immigrants, low-income families, and elderly patients who hadn't seen a dentist in years. Emily's Vietnamese came in handy with one elderly woman who immediately took to calling her Chow Goen, good grandchild, and patted her face every few minutes like she couldn't believe Emily was real. During a break, Emily sat on the back steps of the building, sipping from a paper cup of weak coffee. The sun had broken through the clouds, casting gentle light across the pavement. Alex joined her. 2 cups in hand. You drink it black, right? She raised an eyebrow. Are you stalking my coffee habits? I observe things, he said with a shrug. I notice stuff. Like what? He glanced at her sideways. Like how you're incredibly good at making people feel safe. Or how your laugh is quieter when you're nervous. Emily looked down, flustered in a way that felt oddly refreshing. You always say things like that? Only when I mean them. They sat in silence for a moment, the air charged but comfortable. You seem different since the last time I saw you regularly, he said. Well, Emily said, staring at the ground. I had a baby. I got disowned. I rebuilt my life. And I learned how to function on 4 hours of sleep and leftover Cheerios. Alex turned toward her more fully. That's not what I meant. You seem grounded. Like you've grown roots in the storm. She blinked at him. Okay, now you sound like a therapist, she said, but her voice was softer now. He laughed. Sorry. Dentist by day, poet by accident. Emily looked at him for a long moment. I'm still figuring out who I am, she admitted. I was so many things before Leo. And now, I'm learning how to hold it all together. Some days I feel like a mosaic. Shiny and cracked. I think the cracks are where the light gets in, he said. Her eyes met his. And in that brief silence, something shifted. That evening, after the clinic packed up and the last folding chair was stashed away, Alex walked her to her car. The sky was glowing orange and violet. Birds wheeled above as if the world had just taken a soft breath. Today was good, she said. Really good. It was, he agreed. Better because you were there. She smiled, unsure what to say next. Part of her wanted to retreat. Another part, bolder now, wanted to reach forward. Alex stepped closer, not invading her space, but clearly asking permission with his eyes. I'd like to see you again, he said. Not just at work. No pressure. Just a coffee. Or a walk. Or anything you'd be comfortable with. Emily inhaled slowly. And then, for the first time in a very long time, she said yes without fear. Okay, she said. Let's try. Back home, Leo was fast asleep, his tiny hands curled like shells. Linda greeted her with a tired but satisfied smile, whispering that he had been an angel all day. Emily stood by his crib for a while, watching the soft rise and fall of his chest. I met someone, she whispered. And I don't know where it's going. But I smiled today. Like, really smiled. Leo didn't respond, of course. But he shifted slightly in sleep, and in that small movement, she felt the answer. It was okay to begin again. Even with shaky hands. Even if she still carried the weight of old scars. Especially then. Chapter 14, Paper Walls and Open Doors. The following Saturday morning, Emily found herself standing in front of the mirror for the third time that morning, holding two options in each hand, a blue sundress or a white blouse with jeans. Neither felt quite right. But both felt like pieces of the person she was trying to become again, confident, open, hopeful. She wasn't used to dressing for herself anymore. Everything had become about function. Which top could hide spit-up stains best, which pants stretched enough to crouch beside a bassinet. But today wasn't about diapers or deadlines. It was coffee with Alex. Just coffee. Casual. And yet, her heart wouldn't stop fluttering. She chose the sundress. They met at a quiet cafe tucked between a bookstore and an antique shop. The windows were open, letting in the soft spring breeze and the smell of roasted beans. Alex was already there, 2 drinks in hand, and an extra chair pulled up to their table. Thought we might be joined by a certain little lion, he smiled. Emily chuckled. He's on a grandma date today. She said I deserved a few hours of sanity. Smart woman. They sat, the silence comfortable. Emily sipped her coffee and studied the man across from her. There was something calming about Alex, no pressure, no need to impress. He didn't ask her to perform joy. He just showed up and waited for her to breathe into her own pace. I haven't done this in a long time, she admitted. Me neither, he said. I've had relationships, sure. But nothing since my last big crash and burn. Emily tilted her head. Burned how? He tapped the side of his cup. She wanted something fast. I was slow. She thought I was disinterested. I was just careful. We ended up missing each other completely. Emily nodded. I think I used to be fast. But life slowed me down whether I wanted it to or not. Alex leaned forward slightly. You talk about your life like it happened to someone else. Like you're standing outside it. Her lips parted slightly, caught off guard. I guess. I don't know how to be in it yet, she said. For so long I've been surviving. Now I'm trying to figure out who this woman is who walks around with spit up on her shoulder and still wants to feel beautiful. Alex's gaze didn't waver. You are beautiful, he said. Not performatively. Not flirtatiously. Just truthfully. Emily looked away, the compliment too sharp against the softness of the moment. I'm afraid, she confessed, of liking this too much. Of you seeing the messy parts I've barely made peace with myself. I don't need perfect, Alex said. I just want real. She looked at him then, really looked. And she believed him. After coffee, they wandered next door to the bookstore. Emily browsed the parenting section, rolling her eyes at some of the titles. Raising Royalty. How to Raise a High-Value Child, she read aloud. Sounds exhausting. Too bad Leo already has the throne, Alex said, nudging her playfully. They passed the children's section and paused by a display of picture books. Alex picked one up and handed it to her. I love you through and through. I used to read this to my niece, he said. She's 9 now and pretends she's too cool for bedtime stories, but I know she still keeps it under her pillow. Emily flipped through the pages and smiled. Leo would love this. I can get it for him, Alex offered. My treat. You don't have to. I want to. Something in Emily's chest warmed. She hadn't expected generosity to feel so safe. Later that evening, Emily sat on her bed, Leo curled in her lap, holding the new picture book. She read slowly, letting her voice rise and fall like music. I love you through and through, she read. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow too. Leo stared at her, eyes round, thumb half in his mouth. She paused. The words echoed louder than intended. Yesterday, today, tomorrow. She had survived the yesterday's grief, shame, rejection. She was learning to live in the today, messy, beautiful, unpredictable. But the tomorrow still scared her. What if she fell again? What if she let someone in and he left, like Daniel? What if Leo grew up watching his mother be brave and broken? And yet, she thought of Alex's smile, his patience, his willingness to see her as more than a mistake or a mother. Just Emily. She leaned down and kissed Leo's forehead. Mommy's learning, too, she whispered. Not just how to care, but how to hope again. Leo blinked slowly, already drifting to sleep. She placed the book on the nightstand and exhaled. Maybe she didn't need to know what tomorrow looked like. Maybe she just needed to trust that she was strong enough to meet it one breath. One soft beginning at a time. Chapter 15, What If I Let Go? It started with a voicemail. Emily had just buckled Leo into a stroller for their usual morning walk when she saw the missed call on her phone. A number she didn't recognize, followed by a short message. She pressed play. Hey, Em. It's Daniel. I heard through someone that you had the baby. I don't know if I deserve to reach out, but I wanted to say I'm sorry. For leaving. For everything. I'm in town for a few days. If you're willing to talk, I'd like that. Emily stood frozen on the sidewalk, the world suddenly muted. Daniel. The man who disappeared the second she told him she was pregnant. The man who left her to carry the weight of single motherhood and shame while he ran from responsibility. Now he was here. And he wanted to talk. That afternoon, Emily sat across from Olivia at their favorite neighborhood cafe, stirring her iced tea without drinking it. He called, Emily said quietly. Olivia's eyes narrowed. Daniel? Emily nodded. Olivia sat back in her chair. What does he want? He says he wants to apologize. Maybe meet Leo. Absolutely not, Olivia said immediately. He doesn't get to pop back in after all this time like he left to grab milk and just forgot. Emily stared at the ice cubes clinking against the glass. I don't know what I feel. I thought I'd be angry. I was angry. But now you feel confused, Olivia finished. I feel like I'm standing at a door I never planned to open again. And part of me is wondering what's behind it. You don't owe him anything, Olivia said, softer now. But if you need closure, that's your call. Just promise me you won't let his voice override your truth. Emily nodded slowly. Truth. Her truth was that she had carried Leo through 9 months of loneliness, labor, and late-night feedings. Her truth was that Daniel had chosen absence. Her truth was that now she was whole, with or without his apology. She met him in a quiet park near the library. Leo tucked into a carrier across her chest. Daniel was already sitting on a bench, wearing a baseball cap and holding a coffee cup like a shield. When he saw her, he stood quickly. Too quickly. Nervous energy rolled off him. Hi, he said. Emily said nothing. He looked at Leo, who was fast asleep. He's beautiful. I know. There was a long pause. I came to say I'm sorry, Daniel said. That's all. I messed up. I got scared and I didn't know how to handle it. I thought I'd ruin your life. So I left. You did ruin it, Emily said quietly. For a while. He looked down. Guilt thick in his throat. I don't expect you to forgive me. I needed to see you. And him. Emily studied him, his posture, his fidgeting. The way he couldn't meet her eyes for longer than a few seconds. This was not the man she had imagined parenting with. This was not the man who would have stayed through the contractions or the midnight fevers. And finally, she was okay with that. I don't hate you, she said. Not anymore. But you don't get to insert yourself into his life just because guilt showed up late. Daniel blinked. I'm not saying you're a monster, she added. But Leo doesn't need visitors who come and go. He needs people who stay. Daniel opened his mouth, but she held up a hand. You made your choice, she said. I made mine. I chose him. Every single day. That's the only story I want him to grow up with. She looked down at Leo and smiled. Goodbye, Daniel. She turned and walked away, her steps steady, her shoulders light. That evening, Emily stood in the nursery, holding Leo close. His head rested on her collarbone, warm and soft. She didn't feel triumphant. She felt released. Letting go hadn't been dramatic. It had been quiet. Simple. Final. A knock sounded at the front door. Olivia was out grading papers at the library. Emily opened it, expecting maybe a delivery. Instead, it was Alex. Hey, he said, sheepish. I was nearby and, well, I brought lemon bars. Emily laughed. What kind of dentist brings sugar? An emotionally intelligent one, he said, grinning. Besides, your sister told me you like them when you're overwhelmed. Emily stepped back and opened the door wider. Come in. He hesitated at the threshold. Are you sure? She looked at him for a long moment. I had a hard conversation today, she said. With someone from my past. And I realized I don't want to be afraid of tomorrow just because yesterday hurt. Alex nodded. So yes, she said. Voice steady. Come in. Later, after Leo had gone to sleep and the lemon bars were reduced to crumbs, Emily sat beside Alex on the couch. You really showed up, she said quietly. I told you. He smiled. I notice things. Emily rested her head on his shoulder. I'm not perfect, she whispered. I still panic when things feel too good. I don't need perfect, he said again. Just you. In the soft quiet of her apartment, with the city humming outside and her son safe in the next room, Emily let herself exhale. She was still learning. Still healing. But she wasn't walking alone anymore. And sometimes, that was enough. Chapter 16. New Roots, Old Fears. The morning sun spilled through the windows as Emily sat cross-legged on the living room rug, watching Leo attempt to stack blocks with more enthusiasm than precision. He babbled to himself in a language only he understood, determined and proud with every toppled tower. It had been nearly a year since she had walked out of her parents' house with nothing but a plastic test in her purse and shame burning in her chest. Now, the apartment felt lived in. There were fingerprints on the walls and crumbs in the carpet, but there was laughter, music, warmth, and now something else, stirrings of stability. Alex had begun staying for dinner a few nights a week. He read bedtime stories, helped clean bottles, and kissed Leo on the forehead as naturally as if he'd been there from the beginning. But it wasn't just casual anymore. It was becoming real. Too real. Olivia knocked on the open door and let herself in, carrying a box wrapped in tissue paper. Birthday prep delivery, she announced, placing the package beside the growing pile of decorations for Leo's upcoming first birthday. Emily grinned. Tell me you didn't go overboard again. I deny nothing. Leo squealed and crawled toward Olivia, arms flapping. She scooped him up and blew raspberries on his cheek. I can't believe it's almost been a year, she said softly. Sometimes it feels like 10. Emily replied, and sometimes like 10 minutes. You've built a whole life since then. Emily hesitated. Have I? Olivia looked at her. You're standing in it. That evening. Alex showed up with groceries and a quiet look in his eyes. I was thinking, he said as he unpacked produce, we could go away for a weekend sometime. Just the three of us. Emily froze, holding a carton of strawberries midair. A weekend. Somewhere close. Monterey maybe. I know a family-friendly spot. Beach, trails, aquariums. Nothing fancy. Her pulse quickened. Not from excitement, though there was some of that too, but from a flicker of old panic. A weekend meant bags packed, bottles counted, diapers planned. It meant trust, intimacy, vulnerability. It meant imagining a future. I don't know, she said slowly. Leo's never slept outside this apartment. He wakes up 4 times a night. And I'm scared, Alex finished gently. Emily looked down. Yeah. He stepped closer. I'm not asking you to promise me anything, Em. I just want to be part of the life you've already built. Her eyes welled up. I don't know if I know how, she admitted. That's okay, he said. We'll figure it out together. Later that night, Emily sat by Leo's crib, watching him sleep. His cheeks were flushed with dreams, fingers curled into tiny fists. She thought about the version of herself who once sat in this same spot, alone and terrified, wondering if she'd ruined everything. And now here she was. She had a job, a home, a son who laughed at peekaboo and grinned when he saw the moon. She had parents who had learned how to stay. She had a sister who never left. And she had Alex. The idea of happiness didn't scare her anymore. But keeping it did. Because what if it slipped away again? What if she wasn't enough? What if everything she had built was still too fragile? She stood slowly and walked into the kitchen, where Alex was quietly washing bottles. She wrapped her arms around him from behind. I'm still learning how to believe in this, she whispered. Alex turned and kissed her forehead. Then we'll believe in it a little more each day. A few days later, invitations for Leo's birthday went out, simple cards with watercolor lines and soft lettering. Inside each one, Emily wrote by hand. You are part of the village that helped raise this child. Thank you for showing up when it mattered most. When she addressed the one to her parents, she paused. Then added a line at the bottom. We hope to see you there. Your grandson will be waiting. Chapter 17. The Guest List. The countdown had begun. 6 days until Leo turned 1. Emily's apartment looked like a craft store had exploded inside it. Gold streamers, lion-themed napkins, and tiny paper crowns littered the kitchen table. Olivia was knee-deep in party prep, hot glue gun in one hand, a paper banner in the other. Remind me why I agreed to let you DIY this instead of hiring someone? Emily asked, stuffing yellow tissue paper into goodie bags. Because you love me. And because we both know if I wasn't here, you'd have bought a single balloon and called it a day. Emily smirked. You're not wrong. In the background, Leo sat in his high chair, gleefully smashing banana into his hair like it was a personal spa treatment. Emily looked over and smiled, but her chest still carried a quiet ache. I feel off, she admitted. Olivia looked up. Off how? Like I'm trying too hard to make this perfect. Like I'm throwing this party to prove something. To who? Emily hesitated. I don't know. Myself, maybe. Or everyone who ever thought I'd never get this far. Olivia put down the glue gun and sat across from her. This isn't about proving you're a good mom. You already are one. This is about celebrating the fact that Leo's alive, loved, and thriving. That's enough. Emily nodded, swallowing back emotion. I just keep thinking about who will be there. And who almost wasn't. Like mom and dad? Emily shook her head. Like me. There were nights I didn't think I'd make it. When I was so tired and alone I couldn't even cry. Olivia reached over and took her hand. But you did make it. And you're not alone anymore. Emily smiled, tears welling. Leo shrieked with joy in the background, banana now smeared across his nose. I guess he's proud of us too. Emily said, laughing. 2 days before the party, Emily opened the front door to find her mother standing there, holding a garment bag. What's this? Emily asked, stepping aside. I had it altered. Linda said, carefully unzipping the bag. Inside was a tiny traditional áo đai, a Vietnamese tunic in white and gold, hand-stitched with soft patterns of clouds and lions. Miniature pants folded underneath completed the outfit. For Leo, Linda added, I thought maybe he could wear something from where he comes from, even if we've all forgotten how to hold our roots. Emily reached out and touched the fabric. It's beautiful. I wanted to get him something special, Linda said. Something to say, I'm proud of you. Of him. Of all of this. Emily looked at her mother for a long moment. You're really trying. Linda's eyes glistened. I am. Emily nodded. Then yes, he'll wear it. That night, after Leo had gone to sleep, Emily found herself scrolling through old photos. There was one of her at 17, smiling at a school awards night. Her father had his arm around her shoulders. Her mother's smile looked tight. Olivia stood just behind her, hands on her hips, already grown into the protector she would become. She paused at a photo she hadn't looked at in years. Daniel. From college. Laughing into the sun. Back when things felt possible. She didn't feel anger now. Just distance. That version of her had vanished the moment she heard Leo's heartbeat on a screen. Her phone buzzed. A message from Alex. Still good for tomorrow night? I was thinking takeout and a birthday gift sneak peek. She replied quickly. Yes. And only if Leo gets his first. Obviously. I'm trying to win his approval before I propose to his mom. Emily stared at the screen, heart stalling. Then, joking. Unless. Her cheeks flushed. She sent back. Careful, Reed. I'm still new to this trusting people thing. Then I'll keep earning it. One birthday at a time. She placed the phone down, heart full and soft. Maybe this was what healing looked like, not forgetting the cracks, but building gently around them. Chapter 18. 1 year of light. The morning of Leo's first birthday arrived with bright skies and a warm breeze, as if even the weather understood the importance of the day. Emily woke before her alarm, nerves humming beneath her skin. Not the anxious kind, this was different. This was the feeling of standing on the edge of something that mattered. She stood at the crib for a moment, watching her son sleep. One tiny hand clutched the edge of his blanket, his chest rising and falling with soft, steady breaths. Happy birthday, my little lion, she whispered. We made it. By noon, the apartment was alive with movement and laughter. Olivia orchestrated last-minute decorations like a military general, directing balloons, banners, and buffet tables. The gold "Leo is one" backdrop stood proudly on the living room wall, and a tiny ball pit had been erected in the corner, already filled with squealing toddlers. Emily held Leo, now dressed in the áo đai her mother had gifted him. The golden tunic shimmered under the light, and his tiny slippers made him look like a princeling straight out of a storybook. You are absolutely the cutest dictator this party has ever seen, Olivia declared, kissing his cheek. Guests flowed in, friends from the clinic, neighbors. Olivia's students who couldn't resist a reason to see their favorite teacher in her off-duty glory. Linda welcomed each one with small cups of jasmine tea and warm banana cake. Her voice softer than usual, her movements full of quiet pride. Nathan arrived later than expected, a bouquet of yellow chrysanthemums in one hand, a soft toy lion in the other. When he saw Leo in the áo đai, his breath hitched. He looks like, Nathan trailed off. Like someone who belongs, Emily said, meeting her father's eyes. Nathan nodded, eyes misty. He does. The party unfolded in laughter and photos and tiny hands smearing frosting on everything in sight. When it came time for the cake, lemon with vanilla buttercream, Emily placed Leo in his high chair and lit a single candle. Everyone gathered. Can I say something? Nathan asked suddenly. Stepping forward. Emily froze for a moment. Then she nodded. Nathan cleared his throat. A year ago, I didn't show up, he began. Not as a father. Not as a man. And not as a grandfather. I let fear decide for me. I let tradition speak louder than love. The room fell silent. But today, he continued. I want to say that this child, my grandson, is the most beautiful proof that love wins. And that this woman, my daughter, has become everything I ever wanted to be and more. Emily felt her throat tighten. Leo clapped his hands wildly, unaware of the weight in the air. "I'm sorry," Nathan finished, voice cracking. "And thank you for letting me come back." For a moment, no one moved. Then Emily stepped forward and hugged her father. Tightly. He stiffened, just for a second, and then melted into the embrace. "I forgive you," she whispered. "But it's because you earned it." Later, after the cake was demolished and Leo had fallen asleep mid-party with frosting in his eyelashes, Emily stood in the kitchen rinsing plates while Alex dried beside her. "That was a beautiful speech," he said. "I didn't think your dad had that in him." "Neither did I," Emily admitted. "But people change. I've learned that." Alex placed a clean plate in the drying rack and looked at her. "You've changed too." She turned to him, drying her hands on a dish towel. "Is that a good thing?" "It's the best thing," he said. "You've become someone who knows her worth." Emily looked down. "I think I'm still learning." "Then let me keep reminding you," he said. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small wrapped box. "Another gift?" she teased. "This one's just for you." Inside was a delicate necklace, a lion pendant, small and gold, with a tiny inscription on the back. "You are stronger than you believe." Her fingers trembled as she held it. "You remembered," she whispered. "I remember everything about you," Alex said. "Especially the things you forget about yourself." She stepped into his arms without hesitation. This love was slow and steady. It didn't demand. It waited. And it grew. Just like her. That night, after everyone had gone and Leo slept soundly in his crib, Emily curled up on the couch with the lion pendant around her neck. She thought about the girl she had been a year ago. Alone. Scared. Rejected. And now? She had built something sacred from the ruins. She had redefined family, not just by blood, but by love. She had opened her heart, even when it was still bandaged. She had learned to stay, not just for her son, but for herself. Emily looked up at the ceiling and whispered, almost like a prayer. "We're okay now." Chapter 19. The offer. The email came on a Tuesday morning, tucked between a spam promotion and Leo's daycare update. Emily almost deleted it without reading, assuming it was junk until her eyes caught the subject line. Opportunity. Pediatric Dental Training Coordinator Position. Bay Area Outreach Initiative. She blinked, then clicked. It was from Dr. Anand, one of the senior directors of a dental outreach program Emily had volunteered with during school. They were expanding their efforts across Northern California, bringing dental care to underserved communities. The position would involve part-time travel, training new assistants, and overseeing early childhood care education programs. It was huge, prestigious, purposeful, and terrifying. Emily reread the line at the bottom. "We'd love to consider you. Your work over the last year, especially at the community clinic, has not gone unnoticed." By noon, Emily was pacing the living room while Leo napped in the bedroom. "It's amazing," she told Olivia, who had popped over on her lunch break. "But I'd have to travel 2 weekends a month. Some days I'd be gone from morning to night." "And what about Leo? And the clinic? And Alex?" Olivia raised an eyebrow. "Okay, let's unpack this. First, are you excited?" "I'm terrified." "That's not the same question." Emily hesitated. "Yes, I'm excited." "Good. That's the real you talking. The one who always wanted to do more than routine cleanings and insurance charts." Emily looked at her sister. "Do you think it's selfish? To chase a dream that helps people and makes your son proud someday?" "No. I think it's brave. But what if I can't balance it all?" "You'll ask for help. From Mom. From me. From Alex. That's what people do, Em. You don't have to do everything alone anymore." Emily exhaled. "I'm not used to that part yet." "You're getting there," Olivia said, smiling. "And Leo's not going to remember if the dishes sat for a day. He's going to remember that his mom believed in herself." That evening, after Leo went down for the night, Emily told Alex about the offer. They sat on the balcony, warm tea in hand, the city lights blinking like tiny promises in the distance. Alex listened quietly, nodding as she explained the logistics. The potential pay bump, the mission of the program. Then he asked just one question. Do you want it? Emily stared at the steam rising from her mug. Yes, but I'm scared. I'd be worried if you weren't. I've never tried to be a mom and pursue something this big. Alex turned toward her. Then let this be the first time. She blinked at him. I'll help, he said simply. Not because I think you need saving, but because I believe in you. And because I'm all in. You and Leo, you're not temporary. She reached over and squeezed his hand. This scares me more than the job. Because it matters, he said. And the things that matter most always do. The next day, Emily replied to the email. Dear Dr. Anand, thank you for considering me. I'm honored by the opportunity, and I'd love to discuss the position further. Warmly, Emily Tran. She hit send. Her heart raced. And yet, there was no panic. Only possibility. That weekend. Her parents offered to take Leo for the afternoon so she could prep for the virtual interview. When she dropped him off, her mother handed her a neatly packed lunch and a note scribbled in Vietnamese. Your father says you always had fire. Now let the world see the light. Emily folded it and slipped it into her pocket. When she got home, she opened her laptop, took a deep breath, and clicked the Zoom link. 30 minutes later, she closed her computer and leaned back in her chair, stunned. She had spoken clearly, confidently. She had outlined ideas for training workshops. She had even made the panel laugh. She felt proud, whole, capable. She walked into Leo's room, scooped him up from his nap, and held him tightly. You're the reason I keep growing, she whispered into his hair. And today, I did something for both of us. Chapter 20, The In-Between. The days that followed the interview blurred into one long stretch of anxious stillness. Every time Emily heard her phone buzz, her heart leapt, only to find a daycare update or a text from Olivia about grading deadlines. The outreach program hadn't responded yet. And while the silence wasn't unusual, it gnawed at her confidence in slow, steady bites. She kept busy. Leo kept her busier. Between teething, a sudden fascination with stairs, and his uncanny ability to turn a room upside down in under 2 minutes, there was little time to ruminate. But at night, when the dishes were done, Leo was asleep. And the apartment fell into its gentle hush. That's when the doubt crept in. What if they picked someone with more experience? What if I sounded too hesitant? What if I was just pretending to be someone I'm not? On Friday evening, Alex invited her over for dinner at his apartment for the first time. It was cozy, bookshelves filled with dental journals and jazz vinyls, plants that looked far healthier than any she had managed to keep alive. Leo can sleep in the pack-and-play in the guest room if he crashes, Alex said, bouncing him gently on his hip. This guy already looked. Watching the two of them. Something about the way Alex moved around Leo, unhurried, confident, gentle, made her heart ache in the best way. Dinner was simple: roasted salmon, sautéed greens, rice. Emily took a bite and blinked. Wait, you cooked this? Alex grinned. I'm a man of many secrets. I just assumed it would be takeout disguised in your own dishware. Wounded, he said, placing a hand to his heart. After Leo fell asleep, Emily and Alex curled up on the couch under a shared blanket, the quiet hum of Miles Davis in the background. Alex brushed a piece of hair behind her ear. Still no news? Emily shook her head. It's driving me crazy. He studied her face. Can I ask you something? Always. What are you afraid of more, not getting the job or getting it? Emily paused, startled by the question. I think getting it, she admitted. Alex nodded, waiting. Because if I get it... She continued, then it's real. The career, the travel, the balance. It means I have to show up for a bigger version of myself, and I'm not sure I know how. You do, Alex said. You've already been doing it. Piece by piece. She looked at him, eyes soft. You make me feel like I can grow without losing everything else. Because you can, he said, and kissed her gently. And in that moment, Emily felt it, not just love, but stability. A grounded sense of being seen and held exactly as she was. Not for her perfection. Not despite her flaws. But with her whole story in view. The next morning, as she made breakfast in her kitchen, her phone buzzed. She stared at the screen. From Dr. Anand. Subject, congratulations. Her breath caught. She opened the email. Dear Emily, we are thrilled to offer you the position of Pediatric Dental Training Coordinator at Bay Area Outreach Initiative. Your experience, empathy, and passion shone through in the interview, and we believe you'll bring invaluable insight to our team. Please see attached for next steps. Warmly, Dr. Nisha Anand. Emily sat down at the table. Eyes wide, heart pounding. She had done it. She had become the woman she once thought was out of reach. Leo cooed from the high chair, banana mush smeared across his cheek. He grinned as if sensing her joy. She rushed over, scooped him into her arms, and laughed deep, loud, tear-filled laughter. We did it, baby, she whispered. We're really doing it. That evening, as the golden light of sunset poured through the windows, Emily sent a message to her parents, Olivia and Alex. I got the job. And I'm ready. Each reply came quickly. Olivia. I always knew. Let's celebrate. And by celebrate, I mean cake. Linda. So proud. Tell Leo Grandma's cooking something special tonight. Nathan. Told you had fire. Alex. This is just the beginning. I'm beside you. Every step. Later, she stood on the balcony, Leo on her hip, the lion necklace from Alex warm against her chest. The city below pulsed with light and rhythm. And she breathed it all in. The hard things had not vanished. They still lived in the folds of memory, the spaces where pain once made a home. But so did joy. So did forgiveness. So did love. Emily smiled at her son, kissed his forehead, and whispered, Let's go build something beautiful.